Let's take a look at the tail of the tape, the numbers for these two fighters. You'll find out that they are extremely similar. Trice, even though the challenger is a year older, but on down the line, these two fall right in to a comparable physical stature. The rules for today's fight will be the IBF version. Scoring will be on the 10-point must system. The 3 knockdown rule is not in effect, neither is the standing 8. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round, and only the referee can stop the fight. Speaking of referees, refereeing today's bout will be Steve Smoger, and Steve knows these two fighters well. He refereed their fight back in 1988. 3 scoring judges will be at ringside this afternoon. Robert Watson, Sheila Harmon, and Leroy Brown will determine the winner if it goes to decision. There is Simon Brown, and the fighters go to the center of the ring for their instructions from Smoger.
Simon Brown is a very quiet, serious, modest young man. Unfortunately, Dan, that demeanor does not attract attention in boxing. I mean, he really needs a sensational win to try to grab a little bit of that center stage for himself. Well, you're looking there at Emil Griffith, man with the white hat that just tapped gloves with Simon Brown. This is his first fight as trainer with Simon. Simon has changed from Teddy Atlas, who had his last 4 or 5, and that will be something that he will have to adjust to in the corner during the fight.
Of course, promotion and image making, something that comes very easy to Tyrone Trice. What he needs is a win to really take that big step up. Both fighters wearing black trunks and black shoes. Both fighters have their names at the waist belt. Brown has Simon at the belt line, and Trice has Trice. So it is a first and a last name basis. These two go at it.
Yeah, and Tyrone Trice, now around on the right of your screen, is the more straight up boxer. He stands much more straight up. Simon Brown will get down lower.
The left of the body there by Trice. Both of these fighters will throw in combination. Neither one of these guys just a one-punch knockout artist. The last time these two fought, it was a 15-round fight. This one's scheduled for 12. Working to the body is Tyrone Trice.
On the inside, where it is now, Dan, you would expect that Simon Brown would have a little bit of advantage, but so far, Tyrone has been a little bit busier, both on the inside and the outside.
Both of these fighters in excess of 30 professional fights.
Good 1-2 by Tyrone Trice.
Two extremely skilled fighters. Some people make the case that they might be the 2 best fighters in the welterweight division. Of course, Mark Reel and Marlon Starling don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah, I think people make a case for Simon Brown, Dan. I think that
Tyrone Trice has to make his own case today.
Tyrone has to really make it exactly right. You might see a little bit of what we talked about at the top right here, Dan. Neither fighter starting as quickly as they did in the first fight. Both men a little bit tentative, knowing that they might have a long, grueling afternoon ahead of them, and they're definitely pacing themselves, at least thus far.
Although, Alex, you'll agree, both of these fighters in outstanding condition. Simon Brown in particular, known as one of the hardest workers in the game. And there's a good left coming off the ropes by Trice.
You see, Trice has the edge in speed, especially when he's fresh.
Both those hit glove.
Exactly.
Effectively blocked by Simon Brown.
We were talking about the conditioning a moment ago.
Oh, and there's a good right again by Trice. Twice now, Trice has scored coming off the ropes.
Quick point about conditioning. Tyrone Trice was always known early in his career as someone who was not a dedicated trainer, but he has improved his conditioning to the point where in his last fight in January against Kevin Pompey, he threw what was counted by PunchStat as 1,182 punches in that 12-round fight, which is an all-time record for that counting system.
We're approaching the final 10 seconds of the first round. A good solid start for both fighters, but Tyrone Trice looking quick, landing the harder blows here in the first round. And there's the bell for the start of the second round. Again, a reminder, both fighters are wearing black trunks and black shoes. They have their names. Simon Brown was Simon. Trice has Trice on his waistband, although now it's covered up. Tyrone Trice has the white tassels on his boxing shoes. I mean, Simon Brown, rather, has the white tassels.
We got him confused now.
I knew this would happen. A good combination, a scoring combination that time by Simon Brown.
Right now, it's Simon.
Stiff jab by Brown.
Right now, it's Simon Brown coming forward.
And Simon Brown being much more aggressive than he was in round one, Alex.
In the quarter between rounds, Emil Griffith, his new trainer, tapped him a little bit, said, "Are you listening to me?" Wanted to get his attention to make sure that Simon wakes up in time to get into this fight. Good counter again by Trice, coming off the ropes. Right-hand counter.
That's been his trademark so far. Simon Brown, as we said, from this area. There's his wife, Lisa, seated at ringside. They live in Germantown, Maryland, outside the Washington area. Simon grew up here in Washington, D.C., as well as Jamaica, his home country.
Again, Simon using a good stiff jab to back up Tyrone, but
oh, and there's a warning. That was I think Smoger's giving Trice a warning for hitting low.
All right, let's go.
I think it was for hitting on the break when he told him to stop boxing, and Tyrone continued.
The left also went low. You could hear Smoger say, "Keep them up." Oh, a good left that time by Brown. Simon Brown landing much more in the way of heavy blows this round.
That's right, and interestingly, he just forced Tyrone to clinch. I mean, that wasn't a case where Tyrone was in any danger. He just looked a little bit tired. His mouth was open, and he grabbed him. It's awful early in the fight for that to be happening.
Good double jab there by Tyrone Trice, keeping Brown back. It's a good flicking jab by Trice. He's going to need it to keep the forward-moving Brown off of it.
Again, Tyrone grabbing. I think there's already been more clinches in this fight.
Yeah.
40 seconds left in round one as there were in the whole first fight. If I said round one, I meant round two. I'm sorry.
Oh, there's a good right hand by Tyrone Trice. Those jabs by Brown blocked.
But Tyrone Trice is not nearly as active as he was in round one. Isolated shots. If he landed those isolated shots, he might have done some damage.
Winding down, round number two. The IBF Welterweight Championship scheduled for 12. Here we go in the third round, and Alex, we had a few blows after the bell in round two.
And clearly, Simon Brown threw two punches well after the bell. Steve Smoger warned him. Simon also did that in the first fight and lost a point in round 10 from Smoger.
Oh, good, after a series of jabs, a good right hand that time by Trice. Again, Tyrone Trice in the all-black, Simon Brown in the all-black, but he's got Simon at the waist and white tassels on his shoes. Good look there at the Simon on his waistband. Good left to the body that time by the champion Brown. It appears that Trice is much more effective, Alex, when he's throwing that jab and then working a combination off of that.
Simon Brown has not been as busy as I expected him. They both landed good punches, but neither man has been as effective putting the punches together as I expected they would be, as they have shown in earlier fights.
The trademark of this fight has been Simon Brown being the aggressor. Tyrone Trice fighting, moving backwards, but still throwing effective combinations.
Yeah, Tyrone is a person who can really
score going back.
Yeah, he can score and he can land power punches. I mean, he can set himself with that back foot and let that right hand go.
A good shot by Brown. Even though Trice was trying to clear himself off the ropes. A good legal blow. Every time Trice has been back on the ropes, he's tried to score coming off, and he's connected. See if he does it here. Trice up against the ropes. There's Natalie Trice at ringside as well, cheering on her husband, the challenger. And no doubt has spent countless hours talking to her husband about what happened in 1988. when Trice had Brown down in the second round and watched Brown come back and win the vacant championship in the 14th.
One of the reasons a lot of people question Tyrone's dedication to training was when he used to go to camp, he used to break that boxing tradition. He takes his wife with him to camp.
Just struck a blow for the wives of America, Alex. Yeah, I would too.
Tyrone trying to box. You hear his corner saying, good right hand to the body by Tyrone. Both men worked the body much more in the first fight as well.
Another series of jabs by Trice. He fouled with a right but missed. Tried another right and it went short as well. Good action here in round 3. We'll return to Washington. We're back for the beginning of the 4th round. Dan Deerdorf and Alex Swallow with you for the IBF World Welterweight Championship between Simon Brown and Tyrone Trice. Again, a reminder, because both fighters are dressed the same. Simon Brown with the white tassels and the Simon at his waist. A good combination with a scoring right that time by Tyrone Trice. Alex, again, at the end of the 3rd round, we saw blows and both fighters going at it after the bell.
And really, it was Simon Brown who was the offender, and I think that is testimony to that needling we saw at the press conference and we've seen throughout the entire pre-fight coming in here. I mean, Simon is a very quiet, very disciplined young man, but Tyrone Trice gets under his skin.
And for those of you that missed the beginning of the show, Tyrone Trice has taken every opportunity to get under the skin of Simon Brown, and there he is actually hitting while Steve Smoger is in the middle of the two fighters. A clear violation by Trice. And a good double left by Simon Brown. Trademark of a skilled fighter.
I think both fighters have pushed Smoger about as far as he's going to be pushed. The next one to make a mistake, I think, might get penalized.
Oh, a good combination again by Simon Brown, and back comes Tyrone Trice. We'd like to remind our local ABC stations that at the end of this round we'll be taking a station break unless something happens in the interim.
Might have seen
back into the corner, Alex.
Sorry, Dan. You might have seen along the ropes there when Tyrone had his back to the ropes. He learned one thing from the first fight, at least for now. Simon tried 3 left hooks and he blocked all 3 of them by holding his right hand up. That left hook was the punch that stopped him in the 14th round of their first fight.
Both fighters remaining stationary for the first time this fight in the middle of the ring. The pattern has been Brown, the aggressor, moving forward.
The first time they've been stationary in punching. They've been toe-to-toe a few times, but they both clinched during it. Right now, they're being busier on the inside. We talked about Tyrone Trice standing straight up. On the inside, he'll bend there, but watch at the end of the confrontation if he backs out straight up with his chin up in the air.
And he's separating his gloves, and Simon Brown got a couple of uppercuts up between his gloves. Look at Brown there, he scores with that uppercut again. This is the end of round 4. Slits Mall Liquor professional boxing will continue after this word from your local ABC station.
Let him out, son. Let him out. Let him out, son.
And Brown ended that round very, very big, landing the heaviest punches of the fight by either man.
This is action in round number 5.
Saw Tyrone Trice off balance, come up with an elbow.
Simon Brown, the champion. Tyrone Trice, the challenger. Both fighters, again, I'll remind you, wearing black. The champion with tassels on his shoes, and the Simon, the word Simon, across his waistband.
And Simon Brown is definitely picking up the pace. And the key is going to be whether Tyrone can keep the pace.
The same pattern we've seen to date. Trice fighting most of the time, working backwards. Age not a factor in this fight. Brown, the champion, at 25. A good flurry there by Brown. Trice blocked several of those. Trice, the challenger, at 26.
Tyrone is bloodied in the mouth at least, maybe the nose, but definitely in the mouth.
And Tyrone Trice back into the corner. Doing a good job of blocking most of those. Oh, and a good right by Tyrone Trice.
And a good left right back by Simon Brown. Holding on the ropes there.
Yeah, now that's illegal, holding onto the ropes and throwing a punch. Tyrone Trice choosing to stay in the corner. Oh, and he pulls Simon Brown towards him and goes to the clinch.
Boy, that's a way the heads could really smash together. I mean, he pulled him right into him.
Inside the last minute of the 5th round.
And already, Tyrone Trice is digging down very deep to try to keep the pace. He's not being steamrolled yet, but you have the feeling, Dan, that he's putting out a much bigger effort than Simon Brown is.
It's been a very workmanlike, methodical effort by Simon Brown. And I agree with your assessment, Alex, completely.
The other problem Tyrone has is, we talked earlier about the fact that he has to do his damage early when he's fresh. That's when his power is most effective.
There's a fleck of blood over the left eye of Simon Brown. Oh, and another good combination by Brown. And Trice chooses to bail out. The end of the 5th. Opening seconds of the 6th round from the Armory in Washington, D.C. Dan Deerdorf, Alex Swallow ringside for the IBF Welterweight Championship. Simon Brown and Tyrone Trice.
You see the white material on the left eye of Simon Brown, the coagulant trying to close up that nick. Tyrone Trice was bleeding from the nose and the mouth.
Good overhand looping right by Trice that got through. Simon Brown there on your left, Trice on the right.
There you see a little movement by Tyrone. He knows that all the time he spent on the ropes that last round did him absolutely no good whatsoever. He blocked some punches, but an awful lot got through.
And the blood, look at the blood now, Alex, streaming down pretty good over the left eye of Simon Brown.
Yeah, I called it a
down
nick.
to the side, not in the eye.
I called it a nick. It's more than a nick. And that might give Tyrone Trice a little surge. You'll see that he's done some damage.
A lot more movement now by Trice. Luminaries aplenty here at ringside in Washington, D.C. There is Oliver North, who got an ovation from the crowd when he came in. John Riggins, Redskin fullback, former Redskin fullback, here at ringside as well.
Luminaries is an interesting.
Luminaries aplenty, by the way. I don't think that Oliver North's attendance is much of a concern to these two right now, though. This fight right now looking to be every bit as exciting to this point as their battle in Berck-sur-Mer, France back in 1988. Good, solid work.
And you see the fellow in the background standing up every once in a while, the yellow windbreaker about 4 rows back there, motioning with his hand. That's Matthew Saad Muhammad, the former light heavyweight champion of the world. And he knows what it is to be in these kind of wars.
Well, so does Meldrick Taylor, who's here with us as well. Meldrick with us yesterday in Tampa. This is 6th round action in the last minute of the 6th round. Good strong right by Tyrone Trice.
But again, it's Tyrone that forces the clinch. He's just not as active as he has to be. And again, a couple of punches there, he doesn't work in the inside.
Coming up on the halfway point of this fight, Alex, at least on my scorecard, I got Tyrone Trice off to a fast start, but since that first round, it's been all Simon Brown.
Well, that's right. Direct contrast to their first meeting when Tyrone totally dominated the first 6 rounds of the, not totally, but was way ahead after the first 6 rounds of the fight.
If this goes to decision, we're halfway there. Here we go in the 7th round. Nothing's changed. It's Simon Brown. pressing the attack.
Tyrone Trice trying to buy time with a clinch and getting a warning from Steve Smoger about too much of it. Simon's turned southpaw here. Sometimes fighters turn southpaw out of desperation. I think Simon did it there, just showing off a little bit. Knows he's in charge, thinks he's in charge.
For those of you that have been with us from the beginning, don't get mad at me, but I have to keep reminding our new viewers who's who here. Simon Brown, the champion, is wearing the black trunks, as is Trice, but he has Simon at the waistband and the white tassels on his shoes.
Generally, Tyrone Trice will look like the taller man. And throughout most of this recent rounds of this fight, he's been the man backing up with his back on the ropes. Tyrone desperately needs to land something big soon, because if it goes much longer, he's not going to have anything left. And I'm not sure how much he's got left right now.
Oh, and that uppercut by Simon Brown separated the gloves of Trice and snapped his head. When they're in close, Brown is working the uppercut and scoring with it repeatedly. Oh, and a couple of good lefts by Brown.
Good stiff jab.
In every round, at least for the last three, Alex, you can see a difference in Tyrone Trice. He appears to be waning a bit.
Yeah, he's running out of gas. We said at the top, Dan, that these were two superbly conditioned young men. Either Simon Brown's punches took an awful lot out of Tyrone quickly, or we overestimated his conditioning.
Well, there's no doubt a pounding will have a direct relation to what kind of condition you thought you were in.
Again, Simon southpaw.
Another good uppercut by Brown. And you're right, he's in the southpaw stance. And Simon Brown, a relentless attack here in the seventh. Oh, a good left by Brown. You could hear that. That one hit glove, blocked by Trice.
Brown again, switching back and forth. Tyrone Trice told us that he's knocked out every left-hander he ever faced. Well, right now Simon Brown is a switching every once in a while as southpaw, and he doesn't look like he's in much danger of getting knocked out.
And credit the corner of Simon Brown, the cut that we saw over his eye last round. Not a factor right now, not bleeding at all. And a good right by Trice. Tyrone Trice still game.
That was close. I mean, he just doesn't have enough left to make it hurt. That was right on the button.
The end of the seventh.
This weekend.
Move into the eighth round. On our unofficial scorecards here at ringside, it's Simon Brown with a commanding lead.
If you ever went to the old Garden to watch the fights and watched Emil Griffith fight, you might remember his mother, who had one of the loudest voices. You could hear her up in the cheap seats. Well, Mrs. Griffith didn't raise any fool. Emil Griffith's instructions to his fighter when he sat down, said to Simon, looked him right in the eye and said, same thing. And I think that's the best advice he could give him.
Protect yourself at all times, guys.
There is the daughter of Tyrone Trice, Natasha, his only child, and she's rooting daddy on, and he needs all the help he can get.
A couple of good body shots by Brown. He has not, a warning by Smoker, I do think one was low. He has not worked the body as much as he did in the first fight. I think he could really accelerate what looks like Tyrone Trice's demise here if he did work the body a little more. If not drain him, at least bring his hands down.
Again, a reminder that when the last time these two fought back in April of '88, most people call it the best fight of '88. I guess you could honestly say that these two really hate each other. Tyrone Trice, at least, has expressed that sentiment about Simon Brown. Simon Brown is choosing to let his gloves do the talking. Again, Trice back on the ropes.
And again, Trice taking a terrible beating in close.
Not showing facially. Oh, and a good left, and down goes Trice. Tyrone Trice back straight out and took a left from Simon Brown. And he better hurry. He's bleeding from the nose.
He said to Steve Smoger one time. He says,
a minute left here in the eighth round. Tyrone Trice trying to hang on.
And Simon Brown desperately trying to push push him away.
Steve Smoger separates the fighters. Blood at the nose and the mouth of Trice. And Brown goes back to the body, and Trice has nothing.
Goes southpaw to land a right hook to the body.
Tyrone Trice has nothing left.
He's got a lot of guts.
He does have that. Can he hang on for the balance of this round? Simon Brown smothering Trice in the corner. And Tyrone Trice somehow hanging in here. Trice would behoove himself to stay close here, Alex. Stay in tight. Don't get in that power range. Boy, he looks like Trice is going to make it to the end of the eighth.
Tyrone Trice hung on long enough there, refused to break. Oh, man. He held on long. He knew that if he let go, he was going to get knocked down. He didn't care if Steve Smoger penalized him a point. He was not going to let go.
Steve Smoger going to the officials. He might be taking a point away from Simon Brown for hitting after the bell.
Well, it might be that.
Or holding something. What's he doing?
Or it might be the holding.
Come out, I took a point for excessive holding. I'm gonna let you come out.
He took the point away for excessive holding.
Give me one more, kid. Okay.
And Steve Smoger just said he was going to give him one more round. Let's take a look at the knockdown.
He penalized, by the way, Trice, not Brown.
Trice for excessive holding, right.
That was nine.
Uppercut, twisted the head of Tyrone Trice around, and then the left hook. That is almost a carbon copy left hook of the punch that knocked Tyrone Trice out in the 14th round of their first fight.
Now, Trice got a point deducted, but that was a point well spent, as it were. Is his holding on allowed him to survive the 8th round? We go to round 9. How much can you sum it up in 60 seconds? That's the question Tyrone Trice trying to answer right now.
He has to pray that Simon Brown has punched himself out a little bit, but right now Simon gives no evidence of that. Again, that white substance on the left eye of Simon Brown's is probably Avitine.
And you can hear the crowd. It's a Simon Brown crowd. Brown bleeding again over the eye.
Brown again southpaw.
Again, there's another right by Trice that gets in and scores. Tyrone Trice showing a lot of guts. Simon Brown pursuing the attack.
Tyrone Trice just threw a counter right hand, landed right in the button, and nothing happened. And it's just got to be a horrible feeling.
But I really have to credit Tyrone Trice for fighting back. This could have easily ended last round, Alex.
And I think Simon is right now getting a little bit of wind. Just wiped away the blood in his left eye, the corner of his left eye.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, Simon Brown's father is at ringside. There he is, Isaac Brown. He certainly has seen his son in this position before. Simon Brown's 7th title defense.
And he looks as calm as Simon is outside the ring.
A good combination attempt that time by Trice, but the punches with some pizzazz to them belong to Simon Brown. Simon Brown has scored only one knockout past the 8th round. Guess who? Tyrone Trice 2 years ago. And Tyrone Trice, Alex, remarkably to me, has gotten it back together. He doesn't appear to have much on his punches, but at least he seems to have his legs back, or at least most of his legs back.
You have to think, I don't know if he has accepted that, but you have to think right now his goal is survival rather than a world title. The best combination he's thrown in about 4 rounds.
And Brown blocked all of it. Closing seconds of the 9th. We're scheduled for 12. This is for the IBF World Welterweight Championship from the Armory at Washington, D.C. Dan Deerdorf, Alex Wallow along with you. It's Simon Brown and Tyrone Trice, and Simon Brown is almost pitching a shutout, close to it. Tyrone Trice was down in the 8th, got up, survived, a good effort in the 9th, and here we are in the 10th.
Round 8 was not a sterling round for Tyrone. Not only did he probably get a 10-8 with the knockdown, but he also lost a point, so that was a 10-7 round for Simon Brown.
But still, a fine effort by Trice to get it back together.
And again,
that left from Brown hurt him. That left to the cheek.
And he stopped
it. Steve Smoger stops the fight here in the 10th round. Simon Brown connected with a left. And you could see Trice sag back against the ropes, and Smoger stops it. Seconds of the 10th round. Referee Steve Smoger stops it, and you can see Tyrone Trice.
Oh, and you saw Simon Brown go over and try to make a gesture of respect with, and there you saw one of the cornermen. Here, let me tell you what just happened. Simon Brown went over to say something to Tyrone Trice, nothing hostile, and Tyrone Trice was arguing with the referee. He gave him an elbow, and then somebody from his corner went after Brown. It was quickly broken up.
Well, we still have more people coming into the ring that need to be in this ring. They need to clear this ring right now, or else we're going to have a problem.
And you have a lot of phony people who have no business being in there, a lot of tough guys pointing fingers from about 10 feet away.
Simon Brown retains his IBF Welterweight Championship. His 7th consecutive successful defense.
Give me a clean towel down there.
Let's just state the obvious. I mean, Steve Smoger was 100% right to stop that fight. I mean, Tyrone wasn't on his way down, but he's just taking unnecessary punishment.
Watch the left hand from Simon right there. And you'll see Trice as he sags back onto the ropes. Doesn't throw a punch whatsoever. A right and a left, and Smoger, you're right, wisely steps in and stops it, Alex.
And in the first fight, as we look at another angle, in the first fight, some people said that Steve Smoger let that first fight go one punch too long. He did not make that mistake this time. Left hook that wobbled him on the temple, comes in, misses one. That one landed the body, that one landed the head. The right missed, but the left landed, and that was it. Again, left hook, then downstairs, back upstairs.
And credit Steve Smoger. That is a wise stoppage of this fight.
And Simon Brown went over to Tyrone Trice's corner.
Now this
Malik
didn't help
Muhammad.
matter. That didn't help matters. And there's Lisa Brown, by the way, who was ringside. You know, that may have started the bad blood. Simon Brown heading over to the corner. That was not a congratulatory visit.
Come on, dog. Damn child.
Needless to say, we will have interviews